brickpreneur, internet brickpreneur.
Yeah.
Seb. Seb has been absolutely, yeah. So as well as being an online business helper, an entrepreneur, helping people connect to get better leads and have an online presence. But I'll leave you that to your introduction if you don't mind. I think we could have a quick Q&A at the end for people who've got questions lined up for Seb. That would be useful. I have for an hour, Dan, but if anybody needs to go off, then do so. But yeah, over to you, matey, if you would, please.
Okay, nice one. Yeah, once again, appreciate the invite on the training call. It's good to be here. I think maybe I know a couple of you. Obviously, Andre, we've already spoken quite a bit before. So
yeah.
the topic of tonight, what I wanted to talk about was leadership. But I think because a lot of you don't really know me that well, maybe you've just heard my name. Maybe Andre said I was coming on. So I want to actually talk about, share with you my story, you know, really just so you got a bit more insight as to who I am and, you know, where I come from. So, you know, a little bit about me. My full name is actually Sebastian, but I prefer Seb. And I'm 23 years old. I'll be 24 in about 2 weeks. And yeah, I live in Ipswich. I've lived here all my life. So I'm a Suffolk boy. But yeah, you know, really, I started in business marketing when I was like 16, 17. So although you guys, you know, you see I'm 23, 24. Well, actually, I got started when I was a lot younger. I was actually, I first read, some of you might know about the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that was a book I read when I was about 15, 16. You know, I was still in school. So funny story, actually. So I was back in school. I was in year 10, I would say. And we had this public speaker guy. He came into school. And his role really was to try and motivate us to, you know, do well in exams, okay? And he was here, you know, speaking for like 3 hours, you know, 3 hours. And it was funny because I wasn't really, he was speaking for all this time, wasn't really paying that much attention to what he was saying. You know, I know that he was in the war, so he was talking a bit about war stories and stuff. But other than that, I didn't really pick up on what he was saying, except when he mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad. For whatever reason, when he mentioned Rich Dad, I didn't know what it was at the time. I hadn't read the book. At this time, I was, you know, 15. I had no concept of being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. So when I heard him say Rich Dad Poor Dad, at the end of his talk, I had to go and like pull him aside and say, what's this Rich Dad thing? You know, I didn't know if it was like a program or a business. I had no idea, but for some reason I was interested. You know, and when I ever face a, you know, challenge in what I'm doing, you know, maybe you guys face this as well. You have those moments where you think, you know, should I really carry on? Should I really do this? You know, or should I just go back to doing something more comfortable? Well, I think back to that moment. I think that, you know, how can he be talking for like 3+ hours and the only words that resonate with me were about attracting wealth into my life? You know, to me, that's not even a coincidence. It's too small of a chance for it to be a coincidence. So, you know, but anyway, so I talked to this guy. His name's Raj. I forget his actual name. You know, I wish I could just like thank him and say thank you for introducing this amazing you know, industry to me. But yeah, so I had a chat with him and he told me about Rich Dad Poor Dad. He told me about the book. And he told me about how, you know, he reads this book. It's about, you know, the book's about attracting wealth to you. It's about, you know, creating cash flow. You know, I think he mentions about network marketing the book a little bit. You know, Robert Kiyosaki is the guy who wrote the book. So if you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'd recommend you go pick up a copy. I think you can get a secondhand one for like £5 on Amazon. So, but at the time I was, you know, I had no money, so I just went to the library and borrowed it. But I'm just trying to see if I have something here. So when I went and asked about this book, he basically pulled out one of these. He pulled out one of these out of his wallet. And what he did was, hopefully you guys can see that, but he wrote some additional zeros at the end. So it was like a £5 note. And so instead of it saying £5, it said £50,000. And I said, well, why did you write the extra zeros on it? And he said, I wrote the extra zeros on it because that's my goal. You know, his goal was to be a public speaker and to get paid £50,000 per speaking gig. You know, so when he shared that concept with me, I was like, wow, because I'd never known about goal setting. I'd never known about, any of this stuff. You know, I was just totally alien to it. My grandfather, who sadly passed a few months ago, was a business owner, but other than that, I had no real exposure ever to being a business owner. So it was just something that really interested me. So really from that day onwards, when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, Rich Dad says you have to start a business. Okay, the goal is to go from being employed to then being self-employed, and then to be a business owner, then an investor. Okay, whereas an investor, their money works for them. You know, they're not working for money necessarily. So that's obviously, that was in the book what it said the goal was. But the problem was I had no idea where to turn. I couldn't, it's not like I could go and ask Robert Kiyosaki himself what to do. So I went on the internet and I typed in make money online, you know, and this is it's pretty crazy because it's really brought me to here. I'll talk about like where I'm at right now in a little bit, but you know, from just me hearing Rich Dad Poor Dad, you know, what a journey it started. So really from that point, when I was 15, 16, you know, I didn't really have any money, I didn't have any savings, and I was just looking online for ways to make money. You know, I was like filling in surveys, I was, you know, doing all kinds of like things in my spare time, you know, try and make some extra money. And then it eventually transpired that I could actually build a real business online. You know, I had no concept of this. I thought that in order to build a business, it had to be like a, you know, traditional business with like a building, you had to have staff. That's what I thought. I thought that it was not possible. It was not possible to build a business online. You know, I had no idea. So, you know, and that's what you guys have as well. You guys have a business that doesn't require a building. It doesn't require employees. You know, you don't need staff. You can just, you've got all the essential bits and pieces to go out there and make it happen. And so that's, you know, when I was looking into different businesses, then that's when network marketing really interested me, because I was interested in leverage, which was what Rich Dad Poor Dad talked about, was the idea of leverage. Okay, because if you're working in a job, it's not leveraged. I've nothing against people working jobs, by the way. You know, I highly respect someone who's, you know, who works full time and has the money to, you know, cover the rent and, excuse me, you know, do all these things to run your business. I have high respect for that. But the issue with that is it's not leveraged. Okay, even a brain surgeon who makes probably like 100K a year or probably more than that, it's not leveraged. Okay, they can only operate on one patient at a time. So it didn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter what job you do, it's not always leveraged. So that's when I found network marketing. I was like, wow. So I can just, maybe you guys have heard this as well. You know, you go out there and you get two people and then all of a sudden you make a load of money. Well, that's how it was sold to me. You know, and I was like, wow, you know, I saw all the circles being drawn and I was like, wow, this is really cool. You know, and, you know, I had some naysayers. Okay. When I went for these, I tried multiple businesses, many, I think probably over 10 network marketing companies. And, you know, I don't recommend people jumping around company to company. Okay. It just doesn't work out that way, at least for me anyway. So I tried all kinds of different businesses. You know, I thought, well, this new business has this product. And so, you know, therefore it's a new product, I'm going to be successful. You know, it didn't happen. So I tried all kinds of different products, different industries of network marketing companies, you know, and, you know, for about 4 or 5 years, I just struggled. You know, I maybe in one business, maybe I think I was about 10 companies in, and this 10th business, I think maybe I sponsored like 2 people my first month, and that to me was like, wow, oh my god, this is incredible. This is, you know, I've made it, you know, because I was comparing it to all my other failures. Okay, so, you know, I really struggled for, I would say, about 4 years in network marketing. Just struggled. I went out there and handed up leaflets. I was very shy. I don't mind talking to people. I can go out and, you know, talk to strangers and stuff, but for me, as a marketing strategy wasn't for me. Okay, and that strategy does work, by the way. You know, offline strategies I think are powerful. I think are really powerful, and if you can combine them with online strategies, they're even more powerful. You know, but for me, I went out there, I just didn't have a lot of success with it, and then I found the internet, and then I realized that, hey, you can actually build a business online. Okay, and, you know, really, to be clear here, I don't believe that you should hide behind your computer and build a business. That's not what I'm referring to. But what I meant was, you know, what I saw was I could generate leads online. I could get inquiries. You know, I could be up really early, send some Facebook messages, you know, to some prospects, go to work, and then on my lunch break, I could, you know, check back and just see who has replied. You know, I didn't have to physically be there and show someone the business or whatever the case may be. I had a little bit of leverage, which was cool, you know, which was really, really cool. So I started to look online for other ways I could generate leads. Okay, and primarily I've used Facebook and YouTube as great ways to generate leads. Okay, and how this ties into leadership, I will get to that. But I found out that, wow, you can generate leads online. You can find your perfect prospect on the internet. Okay, really, really powerful. And so, you know, but what I realized, guys, what I realized when I started, you know, going out there and talking to a bunch of people was a lot of them, they didn't want to actually work with me. Okay, they wanted to work with a leader. And that kind of perplexed me because at first I was kind of thinking, well, you know, that's a bit unfair. What about me? I'm working hard, you know. But what I didn't see, okay, what I didn't see was people want to work with someone who's got leadership qualities. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to already be a top earner or a top producer to have those qualities. Okay, you can have a team of 0 and still have those qualities that people would want to be around. Okay, so some of those qualities, which, you know, again, I'll get into more detail as we go on, but some of the qualities, you know, things like getting out your comfort zone, you know, so doing videos, posting a lot of content on your Facebook wall. You know, it doesn't have to be Facebook. It can be any platform. It doesn't matter what platform. I just use Facebook. I just find Facebook the easiest because that's where most people are nowadays. But it doesn't matter the platform. But, you know, what I learned was I had to be a leader because I noticed this pattern of people wanting to work with leaders. Okay, they would see, I would introduce the company to them, you know, the products, the services, but oftentimes they would go and work with someone else, you know, and at first I got a bit frustrated because I thought, well, this is a bit unfair. But then I thought, well, why don't I just be a leader? Why don't I be that leader that people are looking for? You know, and so what I started doing while I was, you know, I was generating some leads, I was getting a few people interested, but when I started modeling leaders, okay, and the best way I can recommend to do this is to go to live events, okay, go to live events where you know there'll be leaders and watch what they're doing, watch how they interact with people, okay, and really study it. You know, not in like a creepy way, don't like, you know, follow people around, but in all seriousness, you need to know and understand what it means to be a leader, okay? And there's different definitions, but in this case, in network marketing, to be a leader is, you know, you're the person that people want to join. You're the person that people want to be around, and, you know, you're the person that they want to just join your team. Okay, you know, and oftentimes when people reach out to a leader, they don't even care what business it is. They just want to work with that particular person. So what I started to do was to really step out of my comfort zone. And some of the things I did was when I was like, I think 19. I was 19 years old, and I'd really never been on I'd never been on a long journey before. And so what I did was I looked for events I could get to. And so when I was 19 years old, I flew out to Dallas, Texas in 2012. And I'd never been to the US before. I'd never flown further than like Turkey or Egypt. So I'd never been more than 4 hours on a plane. And I didn't know anyone who was going to this event, but I knew that this event had a lot of leaders there. It had a lot of experts there in online marketing. And so I had to get to this event. You know, and you know, I didn't really have the money at the time, but I really wanted to go, and it was kind of weird because the money kind of appeared, and all of a sudden, I had the funds to go. Like literally, like 11 days before the event happened was when I booked the trip. Pretty incredible, pretty incredible. Like how, you know, could you imagine booking that like 11 days before it happened? So it was quite last minute. It was quite last minute, but I realized that if I wanted to stand out, if I wanted to be respected, then I would have to do these bold things, make these bold decisions that others are not able or can't do or are not willing to do. So that's a massive thing. That me making that trip, okay, was, you know, it's probably quite expensive. I think it was over like £1,000 for the whole trip, probably more than that. You know, the flight alone was, I think, £400, which is a lot. You know, I always think, you know, flights to the US are quite expensive. But anyway, the point is, if I hadn't made that trip, I don't know if I would be here today, you know, doing training for you guys, you know, and you know, me sticking with this, me sticking with just me sticking with this and not giving up. You know, last week I generated something like 80 leads for free, you know, and so it's pretty powerful what can happen, you know, but that's not something that happened overnight. That took a lot of work. Okay, it took a lot of work. And so going back to leadership, well, get to events, guys, get to events. And if possible, see if you can be, see if you can get on stage. Okay, see if you can just say a few words and be on stage. You know, you don't have to have tons and tons of results, because usually what happens, you know, a lot of company events, maybe it happens for yours as well, is, you know, at the annual event, possibly everyone who advances rank is on stage. Okay, so if you can get someone to get a picture of you on stage, you know, just from you being on stage, makes you a leader. And people don't care why you're on stage, you know, and this is a really powerful thing, because if people can see, you know, let's say they saw me on stage, they saw a picture on Facebook, they're like, wow, you know, they just assume it's for some kind of award. Okay, and that's really what gives you that position. And so another thing you can do is, if you can get on stage and have a chance to say a few words, again, it's just another way to showcase your leadership abilities. You know, if you have the courage to stand on stage and say a few words, even if it's just for like a minute, talking to people you don't know, people really respect that. People really respect that. And again, that's what I did when I went to this event. You know, I had the chance to, I think I maybe spoke for about 20 seconds, but someone got a great picture of me holding a microphone. It was pretty cool, pretty cool. Just gonna, I think someone's mute is off, so if you could mute it, that'd be great. So that's one of the things that I did, is I found a way to stand out. I found a way to just set myself apart. You know, so I saw all of these other marketers, and it didn't matter what company they were in, they're all kind of doing the same thing. So when they zigged, I kind of zapped, you know, I went in the other direction. I thought, what can I do differently to set myself apart? So what I want to do, guys, is share my screen and just show you guys, show you an example of what I mean. So I'll just show you my Facebook page, okay, and give you a just like a written down example of how that stuff works. Okay, because people think, well, you know, what can I put out there to the world to showcase myself as a leader? So what I'm going to do is actually show you a couple of different things. So here's one of the things that leaders do. Okay, you know, and Andre is a good example of this, because, you know, leaders host webinars, and it doesn't matter if it's a training webinar, if it's a team webinar. The fact that you're assembling a group of people together and giving some value, that really puts you in a very unique position, because not a lot of people do that. So my goal is I do a webinar about once a month. So next week, and by the way, you guys, if you wanted to come along, it's a totally free training on how I generated 50 free leads in 12 hours. You know, and so what can you do webinars on is a question that, you know, people typically ask. Well, it can be anything. It can be something you learned from an event you went to, or it could be something learned from a book that you've read, or, you know, one of the things I like to do is, if I've got a particular result, then, you know, I share that. So as you can see, 53 leads in 12 hours. Now, I didn't just sit on that result, but I decided, well, I'm going to put together a webinar and show people how I did it, And so the advantage of that is people will see what you're doing, okay, and they'll see it works. So the goal should be to get some kind of result in your business. It doesn't have to be a monetary result. You don't see any mention of income here. It's just about lead generation, okay? And so what that does is it attracts other business owners who are struggling to get leads. So that's who I want on this call, is I want other people, other business owners who maybe are on the right path in terms of the mindset. They want success, but they just need a strategy to get leads. And so how that translates to having people to join your business is you're offering a large amount of value on the front end, okay? And this is all free information that I'm offering. And so the goal on the back end is I would follow up with people who attend these webinars and see if they got some value and just really see if they're open to working with me, okay? And if they're not open, then that's fine. I don't chase people. I just say, well, that's cool. If I ask someone, well, let's say I ask if they're open to working with me based on the fact that they're contacting me, requesting some help, they're struggling, but their answer is no, then I would say, okay, well, that's cool. What's your plans for the rest of the day? And so that's something you can take as well. Take and apply that. Don't get despondent when people tell you no. Okay, that's just part of it. Just say, well, that's cool. What are your plans for the weekend? And there's no possible way they can think about what you just said and then about the question you just asked. So they'll obviously think about the question. So back to this. So what other things can you do to showcase your leadership? I share positive things. So my goal on my newsfeed is to attract other positive people. Okay, and a lot of times I want to repel the wrong people. Okay, sometimes you'll have to do that. Sometimes you'll have people in your circle who are maybe not people that you want to work with necessarily, or it could even be people that hate you. I'm just being honest with you. You might have some haters who are following you. So what can you do? Well, you have to deter them in some kind of fashion. So if you have some negative people following you, for example, well, the only way you're going to flush them out is by posting positive things. Okay, positive things, because someone who's negative is not going to like positive things. It doesn't align with their mindset. So to show a few more examples, so this is an email I wrote. So a good goal, I would say, is to start building an email list. Okay, and I've got a few. If you go over to my blog, which is seb.brantigan.net, and if you just search for building an email list on my blog, I'll post some links towards the end of the webinar, but there should be a guide somewhere on how all of that stuff works. So I'm not going to talk about email tonight in particular, but it's important to have an email list. Okay, have a list of people who are interested in working with you. Okay, and if you don't have an email list, well, that's fine, because Facebook is also a form of an email list. Okay, but having your own list gives you a bit more control. So that's something I would say to do for the long term. If you don't have a list today, then don't worry about it. It's not like a thing you have to do right away. But if something were to ever happen to one of your social media accounts and you didn't have any other way to contact people, then you potentially lose a lot of your audience overnight. Okay, it could happen. You could log in and someone's hacked your account. You could log in and Facebook asks you to do a security check, and you put in the numbers wrong, or maybe you've seen the ones where you have to click the picture of the watch or something to prove you're not a spam bot. But Facebook might do some kind of security check, and if you fail it, they might lock your account for a month. So having these additional lists, okay, having a list of subscribers to your content is long-term a great goal. And this is something that a lot of leaders do, is they have a list. Okay, the goal really is to have a list of subscribers, and more so you can control the content, the information that goes to them. So that's a little bit about building a list. You know, I'm not going to get into it today's email. You know, I don't want to put too much information out there really and confuse people, but you can actually read up about it on my blog at any time. So here's another example of leadership. Okay, is leaders write blogs. Okay, and a lot of you probably already have a blog or know about writing blogs. Okay, but having a blog is key. It's really, really important. Again, it's not like a you don't have to go out tonight and get yourself a blog, but the goal is to if you have some good content on Facebook and you can put it onto your blog, then the content is evergreen. Okay, and evergreen, if you're not aware of what that means, is evergreen means it's there for pretty much forever. Okay, you know, if I you know, if I use this post as an example, you know, let's say this was like a status post, but that's going to disappear in a couple of days. But if I wrote a really valuable Facebook post, and I was able to actually take parts of that and write a blog post on it, well, if people were to come across my blog at a later date, then they would still see that content. Okay, so again, long term, have a blog that people can come and find content on, you know, long after you've posted it. Again, I'll put some resources in the chat box after the webinar. I'll leave a bit of time for Q&A, so I can obviously talk about that a little bit if you'd like. But that's another example of leadership is having a blog, and I'll quickly show you my blog, okay, just so you can understand the difference between posting your content on Facebook and then, you know, posting your content on a blog. Okay, because I mentioned a minute ago about having a controlled environment that people are in, and so I'll talk about what that means, you know, and actually show you. So, you know, this is my blog. It's, as you can see, it's very simplistic. You probably see, you know, lots of blogs out there that are, you know, flashy and have all these, you know, cool, you know, expensive graphics and stuff. I don't have any of that. I'm currently getting my logo updated, which will kind of look similar to this one. But other than that, this is all pretty much my my blog posts. Okay, this is my blog. I keep it very, very simple. Now I do also have a lead magnet. Okay, a lead magnet, what that basically does is it gives people an incentive to join your email list. Okay, so if you're looking to build an email list, I recommend a lead magnet. Now this ebook cover, okay, so my lead magnet, very simply, is called 7 Steps for Unstoppable Sponsoring. And so it has 7 steps that a network marketer, home business owner can follow in order to start recruiting more reps. Okay, and it's literally a 23-page ebook. It took me a few hours to create, but it's now something I can have as a way to build my email list. Okay, so if you are currently trying to get people onto an email list and you don't have a lead magnet, then, you know, that could be a reason why people aren't joining your list. Okay, it's very important that people are that you're exchanging some kind of value in exchange for people joining your list. Okay, you know, there's been a lot of you know, spammers around, and you know, a lot of people basically abuse email marketing, which means that it's more important than ever to give people reasons why they should tune to your emails, why they should join your list. And so having a lead magnet is a great way to do that. And by the way, this ebook cover, I got it designed on a website called Fiverr.com. So it's Fiverr.com. Again, I'll put links in the chat box afterwards. And it literally cost me $5 to get this created. So it cost me £4 for a book cover. Okay, and it looks like an actual book. You know, so it's like a 3D cover. But I'm not a graphics designer, guys, so I can't, you know, design that stuff. But you'll probably notice in the picture here, there's a picture of me holding a microphone. So, you know, this was a picture of me on stage in a previous company in front of about 100 people or so, and I was only speaking for a couple of minutes. So, you know, to go back to the example earlier of you know, being a leader, that's a great example. You know, I was not on stage for like an hour talking. I was on stage for a few minutes, and you know, what I did was I asked to be on stage. Okay, I made sure there were opportunities for me to showcase myself as a leader. And I said, well, I basically said to the, I didn't ask to be on stage as such, but I did say to the event organizer, I said, hey, you know, is there any way that, is there anything I can help with this event? And she said, actually, we need a guy on stage to speak about your experience with the company. Can you do that? And I said, well, yeah. You know, it was pretty scary. I'll be honest with you guys. It was the first time that I've been on stage, you know, ever. And I was like, wow, you know, I'd done webinars, you know, tons and tons of times before. Webinars I had no problems doing. But me being on stage was like, oh my God, you know, I was like shaking, scared, you know, and I'm someone who's done, you know, maybe 100 webinars, and then getting on stage, you know, it was like a totally different thing. So, but I still did it. I did it because I knew that you attract who you are, not what you want. So you attract who you are. So that means that if you want to attract leaders, then you have to be, you have to showcase leadership abilities yourself. Again, you don't have to make tons and tons of money to be a leader. That's not necessarily how it works. You know, if you've got some results, even if it's a small result, you're a leader. Okay, even if you've only generated like 5 leads today, most people would be desperate to learn how you did that. Absolutely desperate, because most people generate no leads. So if you are able to go out there and you know, generate a bunch of inquiries, you know, or maybe you helped one of your teammates sign up to distributors this week. These are all results that you can share with people. And so what that will do is that will increase inquiries for your business. You know, if you're able to help your team to get more results, most people would be amazed by that. You know, and they might be in a different company to you, but they'll still be interested in learning how you did it. Okay. And so, you know, the goal is to, you know, really showcase your training so that people are interested in working with you. Okay. And interested in learning some of the strategies. So when you actually share how you did it with people and you share some strategies, you don't share everything. Okay, you just share a few small tips that will get people interested and give them a little bit of information. But then, you know, you can say, well, if you want to learn the entire strategy, all of my team get access to this. And so that's an incentive for people to work with you, because they you know, they might be in another company, for example, but they're really struggling to get results. But then they see you're generating 5 leads a day, they're generating none. Well, they want to learn what you're doing to get leads. They want to learn how to grow their business. So they're going to be latching onto you, and you know, they want to work with you because you're out there making it happen. Okay, and you know, like I said, you don't have to have massive results. Just something small and something real is what people want. You know, people don't always want to work with you know, some of the top leaders anyway. You know, they want to work with someone who's got a bit of time to you know, really to spend with them. So let's say you know, you're only generating, you're getting 1 or 2 sales a week. You know, that's still results. Okay, so what I would say as some homework, some action steps, is whenever you're generating some sale, whether it's a distributor, whether it's you're generating a new lead, a new inquiry on your website, you know, you can post that as social proof on your wall. You can say, yay, you know, just got another commission, just got another sale, just got this, just got that. And so then you can say, well, do you want to learn how I did it? Message me for more information. And then you can offer something like I have, which is my lead magnet. Okay, that's kind of my go-to thing that I tend to offer. You know, so let's say I'm talking to someone and they want to learn more about what I'm doing and they want to learn more about my story. I'll just share this lead magnet with them because it contains all that information. Okay, it contains it also has some great concepts in there which, you know, took me some years to learn, that they can just learn straight away. So it's a great way to, you know, build a bit of rapport with people, and also to actually give them some value. Okay, give them some value that they can go and apply. And I've even had people go through free trainings I've done just on webinars. I did like a social media boot camp, like a 5-day boot camp for growing your business on Facebook, and I had people, you know, recruiting distributors just from that free training. So when it came to asking them to, you know, work with me, it was very easy to have that conversation. Very easy, you know, and I'm not someone who twists people's arms or anything, but I said, hey, you know, I would just approach them and say, you know, I know you got value from XYZ training. Would you like some more training like this? And then you can kind of go in from that angle. Okay, so it's a lot easier doing that, leading with value and information, than it is to try and, you know, convince people to join your business. So that's basically what I learned. Is I had to provide a lot of value. Okay, I had to provide reasons why people should, you know, work with me versus someone else. Okay, that was the thing. The thing that really changed it for me is I had to learn how to separate myself, you know, and that's what leaders do. Is they do something different to other people. They put themselves out there without really knowing what's going to happen. You know, so that's the thing. You do sometimes have to jump and not know if that parachute's going to open. So, you know, a lot of it's a mindset thing. You know, people want to work with people who are able to, you know, take those jumps, you know, and take those risks, because people, you know, some people are not able to do that. So it says we've got less than a minute. I'm not sure. Just checking the chat here. Time nearly up. If you want, I think I've got an unlimited Zoom thing. So if you want, I could just, Andre, do you want me to open up another Zoom call and then send you the link? Would that be cool?
Yeah, that'd be cool. How's everybody feel about that? Is that everybody cool? Want to do that? Any responses? I know it's a Sunday night and everything else, and people got things on, but I'd be interested. Anybody else? Just man. Late, or kind of it's a bit of a sideline. Don't really take you fully, but from 16 to 23 and 24 as you're on now, that's a lot of experience, bit of the journey. It's amazing.
Yeah, basically it's pretty much, I've always done, you know, trial and error, which I think probably I would say, you know, a good tip I can give is don't do trial and error. I don't recommend that. I think if I had found a mentor quite early on, because, you know, I did obviously get, you do get people contact you saying, you know, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, I'm a this and that. So at the time I wasn't like sure who to trust as a mentor, but, you know, me not having a mentor, I think was a big disadvantage, you know, and a mentor can be, it can be someone who ideally someone who you can kind of work with, you know, one-on-one, or like in a group setting, possibly someone who essentially has the results you want. So that can be anyone in your company, that can be anyone in a different industry. It doesn't matter too much, but you know, mentor. I think some people will say, well, you know, Tony Robbins is my mentor. Well, he might be in some ways, but if you can find someone who is able to work with you a bit more personally and can really, you know, someone you can ask questions to, and they can give you an answer that's kind of relevant to your situation and to what you're attempting to do, that's super, super powerful. You know, it's at a point now where I'm more than happy to, you know, go out and hire people to give me that advice, you know, and so at the beginning I wasn't, I suppose, open to like listening. You know, I thought, well, I'll just figure this out. It's going to happen at some point. And I thought that would get me success. You know, it really wasn't the case until I found a mentor, until I found someone who could basically share, you know, all this information that I'm, you know, starting to share with you guys about generating leads online, about branding, about being a leadership, you know, being a leader even. And, you know, most of that information I learned in like, you know, 5-6 months. You know, compare that to like 4 years of trying to like do trial and error, and you know, it's kind of crazy like how much you can learn in a short space of time. And I compared that with when I first started and when I was trying to do my own thing, do it my own way, how much quicker I was able to progress essentially. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. So I would definitely say finding a mentor is important. You know, not just you can't ask like a book or a YouTube webinar YouTube video a question, you got to find a leader or someone who you can kind of emulate a little bit, and you know, find out what they're doing and how they got those results. You know, so yeah, super. That was probably the biggest shift for me, I suppose. Was just being able to do that.
Yeah, it's important because you knew really what you wanted to do, and it was clear, and you focused upon that, and you invested all your time and energy because that was the direction, rather than, like you say, trial and error. You knew you was going to be working as an entrepreneur on this business, doing what you're doing today, which is clear. Is one thing I've learned is that discovering what you're good at, what you want to do in life, and single-mindedly go after that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the structure works very well that we've got them as mentors,
cool.
And coaches, if you like, who are up above us that were accountable. I think accountability is really important, and feedback is really important for people. As we've learned with the Miracle Morning, what Al talks about feedback and positive feedback, like you said with the email list, email people who know you, around you in business, in life, and let them give you some feedback on how you do, what they perceive with you, so you can learn, and then you can grow and develop in areas where you need to develop more, in areas that you're weak, working on your strengths, knowing that you're working on your weaknesses, knowing your strengths will look after themselves. So yeah, accountability is massive for me in whatever sphere, you know, from a church background, now in a business, a working background, and even a relational background with family members. I've learned a bit. I can help you, I'll pass that on. So
yeah,
is it yeah, sorry, Sherelle.
Did you say, Seb, that there was on your blog, you set up a mailing list? So I've been wanting to do that for a long time now, but I literally have no idea how to start, how to actually do it.
Yeah. So there's a bit of information on there. There's not a specific walkthrough of it, but there is information on there. You know, why a list is important, and some of the uses for it. So yeah, definitely. As I said, what I'll do is I'll drop my blog post. I'll actually go and search for you, see if I can find a. I think there's a blog post where I mention it. I touch on it a little bit, and so yeah, you know, it's quite. I would say it's quite simple to do. It's just, you know, it's one of those things that people kind of put off, I suppose, and you know, eventually they get to a point where they lose that, like their Facebook account, like I was saying, and then they're thinking, oh, you know, I wish I'd built a list. So yeah, I would say it's definitely important as a thing to do. So yeah, there is a bit of information on there. Sherelle, I'll hunt for that, and then I'll pass that to Andre, and then hopefully you can obviously get it in your guys' group, so you can all benefit really. Because I know I didn't go over it today, but it's good actually, because a lot of these I use an email service called Aweber. They have really good support. So if you're not a technical person, a lot of these websites, same with Fiverr, which is where you go and purchase, you know, one-off jobs, it's one-off outsourcing. They have really good support as well. So you know, if you're someone who's non-technical, I think Aweber has live chat as well. So you know, if you're trying to, you know, create an email, it's called an autoresponder. So what that does is, instead of you logging in and, you know, to your Gmail and manually sending emails, well, if you build up a list of, let's say, 100 people who are interested in your business, then within a click of a button, you can actually email all these 100 people. So you don't have to. That's leverage. You know, I was talking about leverage a little bit. So that's really powerful. You know, and once you actually are able to kind of set that up and get the ball rolling with building an email list, then you know, a lot of top marketers have like a big email list, and what's interesting is they're able to just send out a few emails and still make some sales and still get people into their business without even having to like do other strategies, because they've got, like, you know, a few thousand people on their list, and they're able to just, you know, they're able to get people to visit their website. You know, so one guy I follow is a guy called Ray Higdon, and Ray Higdon is I think Andrew knows about him. Ray is someone who I don't think he's in network marketing anymore, but he does blog posts like almost every day, you know, and he's, you know, he's made literally millions of dollars a night. And so some of the things he does is he has an email list of like 180,000 people, which is crazy. Could you imagine like walking to a room and there's 180,000 people looking at you, kind of like looking at you as if you're going to say something? That's kind of like the scale of it, you know, and kind of to, you know, the numbers I think don't mean everything at the same time. So if you're building an email list and you find it's not a big number, then that's not something to be despondent about. You know, even if you had a room of 50 people, that's still pretty big. You know, if you walk to a room, there's 50 people there, you know, waiting to hear what you're going to say, that's pretty huge, you know. So, you know, to answer your question, Sherelle, yeah, there is information about building an email list. I think it's important, you know, it's important as a way to, you know, get people who are interested to, you know, get in contact with you. So there's lots of different things you can do with email. You can get someone to, you know, give you a call. So you could send an email that says, hey, you know, let's chat on the phone, build that relationship. You don't have to use emails to, you know, send out links about your business necessarily. I don't recommend doing that, but it's just another form of communication, as well as it being a point of leverage. You know, if you can build an email list to the point where, let's say you're away on holiday, but you're able to, you know, send a few emails while you're away and still get people to visit your website or whatever, then that's pretty powerful. You know, I'm going to France in February, so what I'll actually do is I'll probably leave the laptop at home. Possibly, I'm not decided, but what I'll do in case I don't bring it is you can set it up so you send emails and they're actually scheduled, so I can have like emails going out because I'm actually going snowboarding, so I'm not really going to have a chance to be at the computer much anyway. So you know, so that's what I'm talking about. Leverage is the fact that we have all these amazing tools, and Aweber I think costs, I don't know, they've got like a month trial, but after that it's like $19 a month for like 500 subscribers. It's pretty powerful. So anyway, kind of going off on a tangent here, but that's some of the things you can do with email, and you know, how that creates leverage.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Do you have any more questions, Andre? Does everything all make sense tonight?
Yeah, well, you've got to invest in yourself at the end of the day. Whatever your network marketing, whatever business you are, you've got to invest in yourself. And you can't do that whether it's on personal or in your business, monetary. You've got to do it. One question really I had was about downlines, how to keep downlines happy, or those, you know, when to let them go or to work with them. What you found working with your downlines is the secret to keeping, and nobody has an happy ship all the time. Dealing with people, you always going to have issues. But how you find dealing with your downlines personally?
Yeah. So do you mean like in terms of if there's a problem, they're negative, or do you just mean in general?
Yeah, well, in general, yeah. And I think you alluded to something on one of your blog pages about keeping downlines happy, and secret of keeping and sustaining and you know, continuity there. I just wondered what things do you do day to day? Speak to them? Is there an open communication all the time? What things do you do with your downlines?
Yeah,
that works for you.
All right, cool. Yeah, good question actually. You know, because a lot of people we're told to like go out and, you know, recruit people, but yeah, that's a good question. What do you do after you've recruited someone? Because most people don't know. So some of the things I would do is, you know, first of all, you got to focus on the people who are trying the hardest. Okay, and that's not necessarily the people. I mean, I would obviously, if you happen to sponsor someone, they're doing really well, then I would still keep in contact with that person. So, you know, I would focus on those people who are doing well, but also the people who, you know, they may not be getting results immediately, but you can see they're trying. You can see how much effort, you can see they're committed. You know, that's something I'll always work with people. I have all the time in the world for people like that who just have that, who are just unstoppable, you know, because that's just something I respect, because, you know, they're putting that commitment in. So I should also, you know, I feel obliged to just reward that. how I manage people who essentially don't do that is, you know, I don't exclude people. You know, if someone comes on board and they're literally taking no action, that doesn't mean I'll never talk to them. You know, I'll always like share a bit of information with them. You know, I'll always include them in team trainings I do, where I might just do trainings like this and just talk about different things I'm doing. So I'll always include people who maybe are, you know, kind of fall off the radar, because you never know when they might come back on the radar. You know, some people join and, you know, they turn that fire out and then they turn it back on later, you know, because you know, what happens, Andre, is one of my millionaire mentors told me this. He said there's people who go in peaks and they go in valleys. So there's basically people at different points of their lives. So they could be going through a peak right now in other areas. So there's not enough pain or like reason for them to like try in their business. But let's say for example their job's going really well. You know, they're probably not going to be that bothered about working in the business. You know, because it's not like do or die. You know, they've got like some comfortability. If they don't go out and produce a result in their business, then they're still going to do well at their job. But let's say they get a notification that they'll be made redundant and they're going to lose their job in a couple of months. Well, you know, things have changed. You know, things have changed now and they're shifted. So that now they're going through like a transition period where they might be in between jobs. So they've got to look at their options, and that might create a situation for them where they actually say, do you know what? I've been in XYZ business for like 6 months, haven't done anything. I've seen all these success stories. Imagine if I did this instead of going and trying to search for another job where I just get made redundant again. You know, that might trigger something. So people go through transition periods, you know, a lot. They might get a divorce. They might move cities. They might, you know, transition is like any big change in their life. And typically someone who's going through transition, they're usually the most open, but they're usually the most prone to taking action. Okay, because, you know, they're not in like they're in like a different state of mind, if that makes sense. So they have like a different vision now. So let's say all of a sudden a baby's on the way. You know, their dynamics change. You know, it's, you know, the fact that, you know, that they know they're pregnant or their wife's pregnant or whatever. Nothing changes that exact moment, but it kind of has changes in a way. You know, it has changed because you think, well, in 9 months' time, I've got to have the best. Now, I don't have kids, so I can't obviously relate, but what I imagine would happen is they would say, well, I need to have the best possible life, you know, income, freedom, whatever, house, you know, school, you name it, whatever they want. They want to have that in time for when, you know, the baby arrives, you know. So, Andre, you know, you're a father, so you probably sort of know what I'm, you know, talk about. You know, you want the best for your kids, you know, and all that good stuff. So, you know, what I'm saying is like the dynamics can change sometimes, and so you got to always keep people in the loop. You never know what might happen. You know, someone might all of a sudden start having a lot of success. You know, so you know, definitely don't give up on people. But one of the things I do is I had someone who they came to me a couple of weeks ago and they were being quite negative, saying, well, you know, I don't think the training's helping, you know, and then she tried to like challenge me, and so she, you know, saying, well, what are your results? What have you been doing recently, and this and that? And, you know, she was trying to like turn it back on me. And so I just didn't reply, you know, I didn't bother. You know, she'd already, you know, quit the business and, you know, anyway, so, but I don't respond to negativity. Okay, I don't respond. And to kind of like sum up how I'd answer the question, if someone's like being very negative, you have to remove that person. Okay, and as tough as it is, I've had to, you know, block someone on my team before. Okay, and I've had to do that because I'd rather lose one, you know, one sour apple can spoil the whole bunch. You know, and you got to make that tough decision. Same with anything. If you've got some kind of, if you've got like an eye infection, are you just going to sit there and let the eye infection spread to the whole of your body? Of course not. You know, the doctor says, well, you know, take this lotion and, you know, twice a day for the next week. And once you do it, you know, you'll be fine. Are you going to ignore his advice and it gets worse and then you end up really, really ill? No, that's like the stupid thing you can do. So it's like that in your business. Okay, you have to be very wary of this negativity and if someone's being negative, and it gets very contagious. Okay, it's very, very, very easily spreads, unfortunately. So if someone is negative, then you just have to, like, you know, kind of pull them aside and say, hey, you know, I understand things are tough, you're not getting results, whatever the problem is. But you know, to be clear, we can't have that here. You know, so you have to kind of set the record straight. Again, it comes back to leadership. You have to be that leader and have the balls to do it, essentially. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat it, but that is what you've got to do from time to time. If you're a leader, you have to make these tough decisions, which sometimes you don't want to make. You know, you have to, you know, I don't like kicking people out. It's not something I like to do, but at the same time, you got to protect your dream. You got to protect your team as well as your dream. You've got to protect your vision, no matter what. You know, you have to do that. So hopefully that helps you, Andre. Hopefully that's
absolutely.
Kind of went off a tangent again, but hopefully that was a useful tangent.
Absolutely, Seb. Yeah, fantastic. I think we can call it a night.
Yeah, cool.
But that was. I want to thank you very much. I'm sure Sherelle would say the same.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Awesome.
We're going to pass on, obviously, to our sidelines and downlines everything that we learned, and we'll encourage the guys to get in touch with you and obviously look at your view and just be inspired by you, Seb. Keep being you and keep doing what you're doing. It's it's amazing. We really appreciate you.
All right, nice one, Andre. Yeah, cool, awesome. Well, I'll get the recording up as well, because it's I've recorded all this, so I'll actually I'll wait for it to render and then send it off. But I'll also send you the links as well, Andre, to some of the things that I mentioned. I'll give you guys some resources as well. If you want to download my book, which I was talking about, 7 Steps for Unstoppable Sponsoring, just go to my blog. You can download it for free. It gets sent straight to your email. You just print it off, you know, have it on your desk, and then, you know, you're good to go. So in there's a lot of different ways to, you know, stand out, be a leader, and sponsor the right people. So I'll make sure you guys get that information as well. And yeah, it's been a pleasure being here. So if we're not on Facebook, just send me a friend request, and you know, any questions, just drop me a message. It'd be great to connect with you guys. So yeah, thanks ever so much for tuning, guys. And yeah, it's been a blast. Hopefully we can do it again at some point.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you, Sherelle. Have a great week.
Awesome. Enjoy, guys. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.